Okay. Historic, we could say. No one could have ever predicted an outcome like this.
Oh, man.
But the Bandits punched their ticket to the next round. They go to the semifinals. They've advanced to the Final Four against the Vancouver Warriors coming up this Friday at 7:30 in Banditland. In a game where Josh Byrne doesn't score, the Bandits are shut out for an entire half.
Mm-hmm.
You score 5. You combine for 9 goals total for the lowest scoring game in National Lacrosse League history. This is the lowest one I can remember. This is the lowest one of all time. The second lowest one I can remember is probably the 2009 playoffs. What did the New York Titans beat the Bandits 9-3, I think, in that game? That was probably the second lowest that I remember.
Mm-hmm.
No one could have ever predicted a 5-4 victory. The job was done, though.
Mm-hmm.
The Seals are no more. The Bandits advance yet again to the Final Four. But if you told me, Tony, going into this one, in a game where Josh Byrne doesn't score 1, and the Bandits are only going to score 5, I would say that the San Diego Seals have a 99.8% chance of winning that game. Because of all that firepower they have on offense and the great goaltending that they do have. How do you expect? I mean, hey, I'm dumbfounded. I'm stunned. The fact that a 5-4 game happened in the National Lacrosse League is crazy. I'm extremely thrilled with the outcome. Don't get me wrong, but at the same point, I've been to more higher scoring Sabres games than a 5-4.
This is true.
I've been to games where the Sabres score 8 goals in a game. I've been to games where they score 9 against the Ottawa Senators a few years ago. They scored 9 goals. That's, the Bandits and the Seals combined.
True.
Let me just say this. I hope you hammered the under on all of your Bandit bets this weekend because, oh my, I don't even know what to say. The Bandits advance. They advance 5-4 final score against the San Diego Seals. How do you feel about this one, Tony?
Well, 2 things. 1, I'm upset because our offense was only held to 5. 2, really proud of our defensive core and our goaltending for keeping, again, a strong offensive team like the Seals, who have the firepower to get double-digit goals every game, to only 4. It felt like holding Colorado in that Game 3 match to only 4. And that is what you have to do to win games. But the scary part is that their defense and their goaltending, too, held the high-powering Buffalo Bandits offense to only 5. And once again, it felt like we only played 30 minutes offensively, but 60 minutes defensively. Fantastic job on our defensive core and our goaltending, but offense, when you're going to go against the Vancouver Warriors the next round, you better pick it up. And I mean, you better times that score by 3 because that's the only way you guys are going to beat that team.
I'll tell you what. I'm going to look at this in a positive light because this, from what this game showed me, first of all, before I can even get into that, the fact that this team, that San Diego scored 14 on this team in this house, it was 14-13 in Banditland. And then the next game was 13-12. The fact that we went from a 14-13, 13-12 to 5-4 is absurd. I don't even know where that logic even comes from. That just defies all physics and logic in itself. I'm happy that the Bandits came off on the winning side, but I'm going to look at this as a real positive. And that positive is you have a championship caliber defense and goaltending.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
What does Ray Lewis say all the time? What did he say all the time? Defense wins championship. When you lock down your net like that, not only does that send a message to a young and flashy team like San Diego that, hey, you're not going to go into this house and bully us. You don't think Vancouver, Rochester at the time, well, Rochester's out, but Vancouver's looking at that saying, we got to face against that goalie next week. We got to face against that defense next week. That's what that told me. It was just one of those games, Tony. I don't think the offense is dead. I don't think the offense is buried.
No.
I doubt that. Because when you look on the other side, San Diego only scored 4. Okay.
Correct.
Like, I'd be way more disappointed if I was a San Diego fan. It was just one of those old-fashioned goalie duels. And sometimes those are the most entertaining games to watch. I will say this. I felt like in that Georgia game, in the quarterfinals last year, it was one of those nights where I'm like, yeah, Georgia's got the ball. Every time they brought it into the zone, I'm not sure how I'm feeling about Matt Vince making a clutch save in that game.
Right.
I will tell you what, in this San Diego game for the quarterfinals, every time the ball was brought into that zone, I'm like, oh, Vince is going to save it. And he did most of the time. And he won the first star of the game for that reason alone. It was one of those games where you're like, oh, I see San Diego bringing it into the zone. I'm not worried. Matt Vince is going to make a big save here. He's been a wall all night. I'm not worried. And it was just one of those games. I wasn't as nervous. I was more nervous driving to the arena. But as soon as the game started, I'm like, all right, here we go. Like the Georgia game last year, my heart was pounding the entire time. But when the Bandits got underway in that game against San Diego, I felt comfortable with a 3-goal lead at halftime. Should you have built on that? Probably. I think so.
Yes.
You had your opportunities. The one I think of a lot is was it a power play, Tony, in the third quarter where Kyle Buchanan had a wide open net, missed it.
Oh, yeah.
He had another chance on the quick stick and missed the open net again. That would have put you up 6-2. And at that rate, the game would have already been out of touch. I guess the game was out of touch already when it was 5-2 at halftime. The game-winning goal scored with a 1/10 of a second remaining in the first half. Kyle Buchanan with a very, very clutch behind the back goal. But Tony, it was just one of those games. It's not like the offense is dead. No. Because that's just what I'm saying. If it's just one of those games where the goalies were playing out of their mind. You know, you saw Josh Byrne get hurt in that game. That didn't help anything. Contact. Dane Smith was getting robbed. Ian McKay was getting robbed. And Kyle Buchanan had a lot more chances. The goalies were just making the big saves. Ryan Benesh was getting robbed by Matt Vince all night. Wes Berg probably could have had 5 more goals. And Matt Vince was just playing on his head. It was, I compare it a lot to some of the playoff baseball we've seen over the past 2 years. In the World Series, you see the 2-1 games where it's a pitching duel. Hitters can't hit anything. That's what it kind of reminded me of. But then you go from one of those games to a different game, maybe a game 1 to a game 2, and then you see the teams knocking the cover off the ball. Maybe it's a 13-7 finish in game 2 when it was a 2-1 finish in game 1. That is what I'm going to anticipate for the Bandits going into this one. What are the key takeaways? You have a championship caliber goaltender, championship caliber defense. That is without question. That is what that game showed you. Defense wins championships. And if they perform that way against Vancouver, I don't care whoever else is around, Saskatchewan and Halifax.
Yes.
If you played that same way against either of those teams, you're winning the championship. The goals are going to come. Just keep peppering the net. You ran into an extremely hot goalie that night, but guess what? San Diego ran into a very hot goalie as well. It was a game that I will remember for the rest of my life. 5-4, setting history in the National Lacrosse League, the lowest scoring game ever. And I will eat my words. On the preview episode of this show, I said if you go a single quarter without scoring a goal, you are going to get destroyed.
Right.
Well, they went an entire half without scoring a goal. And what happened?
Scary.
They won the game. Was it pretty? Not really offensively, but, we had our chances. Defensively, superb. Chef's kiss. I think that was a unique game. I don't know if you're going to get as strong of a defensive game like that again in this postseason, but that shows you that this team is championship caliber on defense and goaltending. We got best 2 out of 3 coming up against Vancouver to figure out the offense. So we got a little bit of a safety net there. It's not one and done anymore. The Bandits have once again punched their tickets to the Final Four. The goals are going to come, Tony. I'm really not concerned whatsoever. I'm just happy the Bandits got the win.
Yeah, me too, especially at home. But like you mentioned, with the defense being like the brick wall in front of Matt Vince, who's another brick wall, it's like you have to penetrate trait between two, and how good everybody was playing positional wise, making sure there was no sneaky goals coming behind Matt. They were communicating well. They were talking to each other to make sure that nothing was getting by them at all. And everybody was participating in blocking the shot. Paul Dawson was making sure that most of the time he was playing like the second goaltender out there, but every defenseman was getting in front of the shot to make sure that Matt Vince knew his defense had his back that night. And yeah, it wasn't pretty offensively again. And yes, the goals will come. But when you have opportunities, and again, we'll talk more about the stats coming up, but when you have those opportunities, you got to cash those in, because God forbid it could have swung a much different path if, God forbid, the Seals started scoring goals.
Yeah, I mean, I always think of the fourth quarter. You saw the penalties back and forth between the two teams there in the fourth quarter. It was getting really, really chippy there late. And
yes,
they were, how do I put this? They were somehow gifted a gift from God with that 5-minute major from Dylan Robinson, when it was the carbon copy of the same hit that was put on Tehoka Nanticoke, but that was only reduced to a 2. I will say this. The defense, that really impressed me at the end of the game. They took a penalty with 56 seconds to go. It was a 5-minute major. They could easily score 2 there. And my God, take a power play going into overtime. And that's last case scenario that you want in the back of your mind. But that scenario was there. And they go out. The defense is just all over the floor. Paul Dawson's blocking shots. I mean, Matt Vince is coming up with huge saves. We were talking to John Gertler in the at Cobblestone after the game. He said, well, if they scored a goal with 15 seconds to go to make it 5-4 instead of scoring with a second left, we could have been looking at a much different outcome. All it takes is a Trevor Baptiste faceoff win with 14 seconds remaining. They call timeout, generate something with 10 seconds to go. And, man, we would have been seeing almost a repeat of February's home game where they score with 6 seconds to go and force overtime and give themselves extra life. But like I said before, the defense, the goaltending, they stood tall. They are learning. They are really, really growing from now what they were in February. In the middle of the season, and we talked about this at nauseum as well, Tony, that the February week 9, those stakes aren't as high as game 1 of the playoffs. That's just what it is. The Bandits knew that going in. And Johnny T even said it wasn't the prettiest thing he's ever seen in the world, but the job was done. And the most important thing is they punched their ticket to the next round. And I'm still just dumbfounded. If you told me going into this game that Josh Byrne wasn't going to score and the Bandits were going to be held to 5 goals, I would have said, oh, what's the bother of even showing up? Like, they're going to lose. There's no way they're going to win this game. This is what makes the National Lacrosse League such a fun league to watch. You never know what you're going to get week in and week out. And the Bandits setting history. The Bandits and the Seals setting history. I'm just happy to say I was a part of it, just sitting in the stands there, witnessing history, and not only just history, but a big Bandits victory. And it wasn't a very offensive show, but if I can give players their stripes, we definitely will. Ian McKay was definitely the star on the offense. As the offense was looking bleak there, not a lot of players were scoring, obviously, in a 5-4 game, but Ian McKay picking up the goal scoring where he left off in the regular season, potting in 2. Kyle Buchanan, obviously, with the game winner with a 10th of a second left in the second quarter. Dane Smith with a great goal. But can we mention Nick Weiss putting the defenseman in the freaking spin cycle? He's streaking down the field. All he does is pull it back one time. Defender goes flying. He's on the ground, leaves a wide open net. We're hearing friends in low places, and we're just celebrating. We're celebrating a Nick Weiss goal. Anytime that dude scores a goal, man, the place goes bonkers. I mean, I know it gets loud whenever Dane, whenever Josh, and when Ian McKay scores, everybody's singing "Hey Mickey" and stuff like that. But when you see Nick Weiss scoring out of the transition, and when you see guys like Connor Farrell score, it feels like the roof's going to blow off the place. And that was just an insane goal to watch. You're normally not used to seeing players like Nick Weiss, faking, dodging, really putting players in the spin cycle, making them look stupid out there. But the Bandits, that's the switch. Playoff mode is on. We're going to score some big-time goals. Nick Weiss probably had the nicest goal of the night. I don't know. I think it's a tie between him and Kyle Buchanan because a good old behind-the-back goal, especially a game winner, is always good to see too.
Yeah, but you also got to remember, too, even though Kyle Buchanan's 10th of a second behind the net dump to make his goals count, but Nick Weiss put that defender on ice, made him slide like he had a misstep. And believe me, that right there, when you fool somebody like that, what's that?
I think his jock strap is still in the corner. He deked him out so bad.
Well, if you shake him off his shorts like that, yeah, his jock strap would be in the corner. But the fact that how he just got him to freeze and pulled, like you said, he pulled back and then made his dash to go for the net and just score his goal was spectacular. It was definitely an ESPN. Yeah, well, I'm going to freeze this defender and make him make the first move and make him look silly out there. And he sure did. So I would have to say, even though I would give my kudos to Kyle, but Nick Weiss definitely gets my approval for the best goal of the night.
Also, not to mention Steve Priolo almost having one of the goals of the night. One hand on the stick. Okay, shorthanded, 1. 2, he had one hand on the stick. 3, he's fighting off 2 defenders at the same time because they're shorthanded. He just got
that penalty.
He got his toe at the top of the crease. He just touched the white line.
Damn.
That would have been a great goal to see live. That would have put the dagger in him too. That would have made it a 6-2 game. Kyle Buchanan, wide open shot in front of the net on the quick stick. I think he hit a post, and I think he shot it over the top. He had 2 good chances to score there. You can look at it a couple different ways. Maybe the offense is knocking the rust off going into the playoffs. Maybe there were some nerves there because you knew how good San Diego was against you in your house previously. I mean, I know as low scoring as it was, it did remind me a lot of the Georgia game. I know it didn't go to overtime, but it was a 1-goal game and it was back and forth pretty much the entire way. Obviously San Diego taking the 2-1 lead there, but Buffalo coming right back and never really looking back. They go on a little 4-0 run of their own. They do get shut out the second half, but when you look at the other side, does it really do much difference when you held San Diego to 1 goal in the third and almost 0 in the fourth?
Yep.
So not only did you get held to scoreless quarters twice in the second half,
they almost got held scoreless.
They almost got held to 2 full quarters just in different times. The first quarter, did they score at all in the first quarter?
Nope.
I don't think they did.
Not one bit. It was just McKay got the lone goal.
McKay scored the only goal in the first quarter. He scored a garbage time goal in the fourth quarter. A second left in a 2-goal game. It didn't even matter at that point. Nope. Everybody's in the crowd singing, nah, 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 hey, 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 we got to take a face-off with a second left. They're not going to do anything with it. So, I mean, that's pretty much all that it was. So, whenever I see people on Facebook saying, oh, the Bandits were held to, I get it. It's frustrating. They had their opportunities, and they didn't capitalize on them. But look at the other side. San Diego was basically held to scoreless and a half as well. It was just in different times, the first quarter and the fourth quarter. Or are we going to count that garbage time goal as anything of value or anything of importance? I see all this. I see nonstop bitching about, oh, the Bandits offense, we suck. We're never going to beat Vancouver. I'm like, well, look at San Diego's. They scored 4. I mean, is anyone talking about that? I don't think anybody's really talking about that. What you should take away from this is that it's only round 1.
Correct.
What are the odds that you score 5 back-to-back weeks? Unless your offense is really that bad, I don't think it's going to happen. You normally don't see
not twice in a row
doing that, especially the 1 seed. You normally don't see them doing that. It was just one of those goaltending duel games. The offense will figure it out. We have a best of 3 series coming up.
Correct.
They are going to figure it out. The players are obviously frustrated. Johnny T even said it wasn't the best-looking win, but it was a win nonetheless. So
correct.
As long as you have more goals on the scoreboard than the other team, I don't really care how it gets done. All you have to do is win the game. The Bandits won the game, and they didn't just win the game. They beat a team that plays them extremely well week in and week out, and that's the San Diego Seal. So that is not a win that you should be ashamed of. No, none of the playoff wins should be. San Diego is no slouch. You just took a big threat out of the chase for the NLL Cup.
Correct. And also to bring up another topic too, especially after Chase Fraser getting his penalty, and then they had the illegal bench minor penalty, and they were short 2 guys on the floor. And how good our defensive core, with only 3 guys out there helping Vince, performing to a kill that their only power play goal happened at that last second of the game.
Yep.
So kudos to the special teams penalty killing for keeping San Diego at bay to that very point. And that's huge. You go and you play your next opponent the same way, that's going to be a huge key to win. But we'll get to that in our pregame against Vancouver later on this week. But kudos to the defense, thinking they were outnumbered, even though the numbers were outnumbered. Let me correct that. But but our defense stayed strong. They did not lose confidence. They stayed the course, and they did an amazing job doing their job, killing off penalties that they had to get those guys back out on the floor.
And this is a win that you can build off of, too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, was your special teams good? It was 50%. Mm-hmm. Your penalty kill was phenomenal. Your
80.
Power play went over. You went over 3 on the power play. Okay,
80% kill, 0 on the power play.
Yeah. What are the key takeaways? Your defense and goaltending are championship caliber, 0 question. Maybe tweak a couple things up on offense. If you get a more consistent showing out of your offense, Tony, and you bring back the same defense, who in their ever-loving mind is beating this Bandits team? Who? Name me a team. If you carry this defense, I don't give a crap if you're playing Vancouver, Halifax, Saskatchewan, whoever it may be coming up. Obviously, it's Vancouver now, but
yes,
if you bring a defensive performance like that, night in, night out, the rest of the way in the playoffs. Now, I'm not saying 4 goals. Hold Vancouver to 4 goals. Hold Jeff Cornwall and Keegan Ball to 4 goals. Okay, sure. A lot easier said than done. But
correct.
Under 10 is not out of the realm of possibility. If you show up like that defense, the offense will come around. Let me tell you that, people. Do not worry about this offense. The offense will come around. If you tweak some things up on the O, keep things steady on the D, goaltending is going to do wonders for you in general when you have the greatest netminder that's ever played this game. Absolutely. He's going to figure it out. He's going to play well enough to win you the series. No one is beating you. All you have to do is bring back the offense from the very beginning of the season. You combine that with the defense that we saw last Friday night, no one, not a soul is even coming close to beating the Buffalo Bandits.
Nope, you just carry on the same kind of mental game plan going into this next series. You have some room for comfort in a way, but also you want to make a statement. You make a statement because you are the defending champions. You make a statement because you are the better team than the opponent team is. But you also have to make a statement to let them know if you want to be the best, you have to beat the best. And right now, the Buffalo Bandits are the best.
And they've proven that over the last 2 years. They've proven that over the last 2 years. The one thing I will dog on the Bandits for, and this is somewhat their fault, somewhat not, man, we were missing Kyle Matisse. The loose balls are a problem, Tony. I mean, how many times did San Diego jump on a loose ball and you're like, oh my God, here we go. Like maybe what would have been a fresh 30 going the other way for the Bandits. We're scooping up with one hand. We're not scooping with 2 hands. We're being lackadaisical with it. And then San Diego ends up with the ball back. And you're like, oh my God, that we're just giving them free possessions. You can't do that when you're up by 2 or 3 goals in a one and done playoff scenario. I will say that. I will dog on them for that. The loose balls have to be a million times better going into the second round. And we will talk about that more on the pregame coming up later in the week. But that was one of the tidbits that I really took away from this game was, if there is a kryptonite to the Superman that is the Buffalo Bandits, it's loose balls. My God. I know Nick Weiss scooped up like 9 or 10 of them, but yikes. That was a rough look.
But especially with the way how in the beginning, like our first half was really strong in the word of offensive, we could say. They were fighting for those loose balls. They were getting their chances to keep their offense out there and their defense getting really, really tired. And that's why I think by doing what we were saying before prior going into this game, The key to win against San Diego was to maintain your offense on the floor as long as possible. They must have heard something because they obviously did that in the first half.
Yep.
Now, in the second half was a completely different team, and I'd say offensively because they were missing their chances. They were, not getting to the loose balls faster than their opponents. But again, look what lo and behold did. Defense, goaltending stayed the course throughout the entire 60 minutes, and they played A-plus effort. You can't take away from that. They played phenomenal.
Yeah, and you also got away with how many moving picks did San Diego have? You were undeniable. The amount of times that they were holding our players, the amount of times that moving picks weren't called, the amount of times that they were trying to take shots behind the play.
Mm-hmm.
You stood tall every single time. You weren't retaliating. You weren't running your mouth to the referees. None of that. You stayed course. You stayed poised. You stayed mature in your own minds to not retaliate in a one and done situation in the playoffs in the first round. You played your game. 5-4, we set history. The Bandits and the Seals, they set history. But you know what? I don't care if it's 1-0, 2-1, 3-2. As long as the Bandits have the higher crooked number than the other team, I'm all right with a win. At this stage in the game,
yeah,
we're not talking mid-season. We're not talking like potential slumps or nothing like that. It's getting to the point where if you just score one more goal when you hit triple zeros in the fourth quarter and you have one more goal than they do on the scoreboard, that's all I care about. All I care about now is wins and losses. And I don't care how it gets done, just as long as it gets done. We don't really have the luxury to be picky right now. Just keep winning. Now, if they were winning games consistently low scoring midway through the year, I'd be like, what's this offense doing? What is this trend? I don't really like this. But I mean, we're at the stage of the game now where it's like, I don't care if you win 4-3. I don't care if you win 5-4. I don't care if you win 20-1. Just have that higher number than the other team. And that's all I really care about is wins over losses.
That's it. You got to beat them. That's all you can do is pick apart the way they are on their weaknesses. And if you don't exploit them, you're missing your window of opportunity. But you got to pick up the pace a little bit. Defensively, don't change a damn thing. Offense has got to do something to tweak, like you said. It's time to tweak it a little bit and get that offensive fly that we used to have, is that average of 13 plus per game. That's something they have to get back on. And they know it. But right now, they can thank their defense and their goaltending for that amazing effort to keep them in the game and to say, well, I guess 5 goals was enough. And most of the Bandits fans can agree with me when I say this. Is 5 goals really enough? I don't know. Yep. I wouldn't think it would be, but they surprised the hell out of me. So good job, guys. We're on to the next round.
On to the next one. I don't care how pretty it is, but I think before we get into our closing, we get into our sponsors, we have to get into our player of the game. We of course have to do this. My player of the game, it really shouldn't be. You probably have the same one as I do. It is not a surprise to anyone. Matt Vince playing on his head the entire night, making 48 saves for number 48. Hey, how about that? Isn't that awesome? Matt Vince is 100% my player of the game. If he isn't your goalie, you are getting one bounce. You're watching the rest of the playoffs from home. You do not win this game without the man between the pipes in Matt Vince.
I couldn't agree more, and you're right. I was going to say Matt Vince as well, but I'm going to flip this around because he's earned my respect, and this is to the San Diego's goaltender, and I'm going to say to Christopher Origlieri, dude, you've got a bright future ahead of you, dude.
Does.
You play that way, and you keep your team involved and to keep them alive as much as possible, and you're probably going into the locker room after the game going, why could you not score more than that team? I've kept you in this game as much as I possibly can. So my player of the game is the other goaltender. I'm going to give kudos to where the respectfulness is. And you know what? He has earned my respect after that game. He's done amazing things for the Seals, and he's going to do much more for them if they keep him around.
Yeah, he's a beast. I mean, he definitely has a bright future. If I'm him, I'm like, offensive, what the hell? Like, what was that?
I know.
I gave you the best performance of my life, and that's all you gave me?
That's right.
That's what I'm thinking going into that one. But hey,
absolutely.
Bandits are moving on. San Diego's going home. They can't seem to really beat those early round exit Oh, I mean, that is what they're known for as of late.
It was a nail biter for me. I kind of was
really
nervous.
good regular season team in San Diego, but they really can't seem to get past the first 2 rounds. And that's
right.
going to continue going into this offseason for those guys. But the Bandits don't have to worry about that just yet. They get through the first round. They punch their tickets to the semi. They are ready to go against Vancouver. At least you hope so. We will talk more about that on the preview coming up. But Tony, it is now time to shout out the sponsors after a big, historic, lowest scoring game in National Lacrosse League history, 5-4 victory over the San Diego Seals on Friday night.
That's right. Banditland Boulevard would like to thank our main sponsor, and that is Mitchell's Tavern, located at 734 Sheridan Drive up in Tonawanda, New York. Guys, the Milkman's been there. Josh Burns been there. Who's going to be next to be there? Well, it doesn't matter, but we want you to be there. Banditland Boulevard, Trevor Hauer over there, myself, Tony LaMonica want you to go check it out. Check out their food. Check out their amazing service. They will treat you like family. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. And we'd also like to thank our other sponsor, Herney's Journeys. If you guys plan on taking a next vacation or a trip somewhere, please contact Suzanne Pike at SuzannePike@Herney'sJourneys.com. Let her book your next big adventure. Also, we'd like to thank those who watch us on YouTube through StreamYard. Give us that like, give us that subscribe, and hit that notification bell about all of Buffalo Bandits Lacrosse needs. I promise you, you now see who we are. This is what we do. We support the orange and black. If they win or lose, or they end up tied, or win another championship, we're always there for them. And also, we'd like to thank those who listen in on every device known to man, your tablet, your phone, your radio station, on Spotify. Give us that 5-star rating every time you hear about what Trevor and myself talk about the Buffalo Bandits.
That's right. Hey, I mean, just a quick rundown, too. Also, Vancouver beat Rochester. You got Georgia out of the first round. They lost to Saskatchewan. And Nick Rose doing playoff Nick Rose things, losing in the playoffs.
So
the
sad.
Calgary Roughnecks, even though I predicted them to go to the next round, you got Halifax punching them in the mouth, putting up 16. If you really think about it, 16 goals for them alone to our combined 9 between the two teams in our game. Just absurd. I can't even just wrap my head around that. That is insane. But there are 4 teams that remain. Buffalo and Vancouver coming up, starting off this Friday. And then Sass and Halifax. 4 teams remaining. There can only be one champion. And the Bands are still looking to three-peat. So that is still alive and well. Tony, we will send out the preview on Wednesday night. But for now, coming off a big 5-4 victory at home against the Seals, the team that beat us in our house in the regular season, we got our revenge against them. Going to the semifinals, we got 3 words to sign off on this show. What are those 3 words?
And we do it always in Chris Swinney's style. In 3, 2, 1. Let's go, Bandits!
Let's
Next
go.
round, boys. Let's go.
Let's go.